Welcome to my channel where Karen's son was towed because he parked in his own driveway. Our next post is from a user. She called the HOA on me for parking in my driveway. I had just moved into a new home that was in an HOA. The house was built in 1950 but was completely redone. New roof, new windows, new doors, new porch, new everything. But the garage door was original. It looked like this thing was made in a World War II factory, and it still worked, but it was ugly as sin. The house was a foreclosure, and the previous owner didn't care how it looked because they were already gone. So the HOA let the foreclosure go to crap, because apparently they couldn't force someone to fix it up. And when I say crap, I mean the grass was knee-high, there were trees growing through the concrete, paint was chipping off the walls, etc. But they did make him clean it up before closing, so at least the place wasn't a biohazard when I moved in. That's how I got such a good deal on the house. Anyway, I started with the garage. This was 2 years ago, so I started by getting a quote from a garage company. They wanted $2,500 to replace it. Then I went on Craigslist and found a used garage door opener and panel for $600. So I got a friend of mine who was a contractor to come over and take a look. He said that he could get it done for $1,500, including labor. So I hired him on the spot. He pulled down the old door, which took some doing, and then put up the new one. My friend is awesome. He even fixed up the door frame that the old door had rotted out. He was supposed to be done that day, but he ran out of screws and bolts, so he had to leave. So I told him to just take the rest of the day off and come back the next day to finish it up. So he came back the next day and finished it up. Total cost, $1,400. Now, as you can imagine, I was pretty excited about my new garage door. It looks great. So as soon as it was done, I got in my car and drove it into my garage. That's right, I backed it into the garage, not parked. I parked my car in the driveway. Now, mind you, my driveway is on the street and my garage is attached to the house, so anyone walking on the sidewalk can see into my garage. When I parked my car in the driveway, there was nothing covering the garage door opener, so I closed the garage door. When I came out, I noticed that my neighbor across the street was taking pictures, so I waved and asked if everything was okay. He said, "Everything's fine," and continued taking pictures, so I just shrugged and went on my way. About 30 minutes later, my wife comes out to sit in the car while I finish up inside, and she says, "What's that smell?" I thought about it. Probably just the garage door. It has a strong chemical smell. So we sat in the car for about 10 or 15 minutes, waiting for the smell to dissipate. Finally, we got in the house. About an hour later, we got a knock at the door. We opened the door, and there stood our neighbor. "Hey," I said, "what's up?" He replied, "I'm your neighbor. You're new here, right?" "Yeah," I said. "How do you know?" "Well, I saw you backing your car into your garage. Didn't you know that's against the rules?" "What do you mean? It's my driveway. I can park wherever I want. You can't park in front of your garage. You have to keep it clear so that the garage door can open and close freely. The rule states that all driveways must be kept clear at all times. It's not like it's a fire hazard or anything. There's plenty of room for the garage door to open and close. It's not like it hits the door or anything, so why does it matter? It doesn't matter because the rule is the rule, so you have to move your car. Nope, sorry, I'm not moving my car. Oh yeah, well then I guess I'll have to call the HOA. And he did. So the HOA shows up and tells me that I violated the rules and that I have to move my car immediately. But it's not even in the way, I said. That doesn't matter. You have to move it. I refused. The HOA then threatened to have my car towed, so I said, do it. So they left to have my car towed. I guess their idea of having my car towed was actually having the car towed because 2 hours later, my car was gone. The HOA shows up again and tells me that my car was towed because I wouldn't move it. Yeah, you said that I had to move it, so I figured that you would be happy now that it's gone. We're happy, but you're gonna have to pay for it. It's $185 to get it released. Oh no, you don't understand. I'm not paying for it. Why not? Because you towed it. Because you towed it, not because I had it towed. You guys are idiots. The HOA then threatened to sue me. Go ahead, sue me. So the HOA sued me for $185. I laughed. I went to court and told them that they towed my car without my permission and that it was in my driveway and not even in the way. The judge laughed and ruled in my favor and gave me $185. Down in the comments, we have this story from OP. This happened to my sister. It ended up in small claims court. The neighbor paid the $75 filing fee, took a week to get the court date, drove past her house twice to prove that the car was always in the way, parked car in the driveway, didn't move it, and won $300 in damages. The HOA also had to pay $100 for the day in court and had to pay the lawyer $300. That's $400 more than the original amount. All because they were too lazy to walk up to her door and talk to her, instead of assuming that she was just another Karen that they had to fight. And then we have this story from another user. One time, my mom forgot to close the garage door in the morning, and the neighbor called the cops on her for violating the HOA parking rules. Mom walked out, saw what was happening, and shouted at the top of her lungs, "Free country, not communist country! Park wherever I damn well please!" The cop was so embarrassed for both parties and quickly diffused the situation. The neighbor never called the cops again. And then another story from another user. In our neighborhood, there are 2 parking areas for residents, one in front of the house and one behind the house in the backyard. The HOA is very strict on where you park. If you park in the front, your car must be moved every 48 hours so the street sweeper can get through. Many people ignore this rule. Many people also park in the back, which is allowed. But there are several houses that don't have enough space in the back for their driveway and garage. So these people sometimes park in the street in front of their house. One Saturday, I was cleaning up my yard, and I noticed that there was a blue pickup truck parked in the street in front of the Gonzalez house. Their driveway is really narrow, so they usually park in the front. I didn't think much of it. Later that evening, I went out back to work on my computer in my shed. As I was working, I heard police sirens. I stepped outside to see what was going on, and I saw the blue pickup truck being towed away. Apparently, Mrs. Gonzalez had forgotten to move her car from the front of the house. The street sweeper came by, and it couldn't get through, so it got towed. I saw her come out of the house with her pajamas on, and she was screaming at the top of her lungs, "Don't tow it, don't tow it." Unfortunately for her, she was too late. A few days later, I was raking leaves, and I saw Mr. Henderson, the HOA president, pulling into the neighborhood in his nice Mercedes. He parked in the street in front of his house and went inside. I saw his wife come out to move his car after 48 hours. I smiled and waved at her. She looked at me and said, "Good luck with that." Confused, I asked, "What do you mean?" She replied, "Try getting him to move his car from the front of the house. He's got to move it every 48 hours, just like everyone else," she said. "Yeah, but you know him. He never listens to us. He says he's exempt from the rules because he's the HOA president." "Ah, man, I wish I was exempt from the rules," I said. "This story reminds me of the time when the HOA president broke the rules and painted his house. He proudly announced that he was exempt from the HOA rules because, and I quote, 'I make the rules.' He actually said that. Yeah, but you know, when you're making the rules, you got to make sure you follow them too, right? Otherwise, it's not fair to anybody. So, yeah, this guy actually thought he was above the rules because he was the HOA president. At a later meeting, several of us brought this up to him, and he got really angry and started threatening to kick us out of the HOA. Then we pointed out that he had no authority to remove members from the HOA because he was only a president, not a director. After that, he started threatening to have us removed by the board of directors for slander and defamation of character. Again, He had no authority to do that. Only the board of directors could do that. He got so pissed off that he stormed out of the meeting and never said a word to any of us again. I don't know if he ever realized how much power he actually had or didn't have with the HOA. But anyways, that is all I have for you today. So if you like this content, please feel free to check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.